Star Trek fans never understood one of TNG's most underrated criminals. The world of Star Trek, The Next Generation, is populated with countless iconic figures, both heroes and villains. While fans often heap praise on towering antagonists like Q, the Borg Queen, or Lore, they tend to overlook one of the show's most fascinating, complex, and ultimately misunderstood criminals, Okona, the so-called outrageous Okona. Premiering in the Season 2 episode, The Outrageous Okona, this charming rogue was instantly unlike any character the crew of the Enterprise D had previously encountered. Yet despite his Han Solo-esque charisma, Okona was swiftly dismissed by fans and critics alike. Some saw him as comic relief, others as filler. But that interpretation misses the point. Okona isn't a shallow rogue shoehorned into Star Trek's utopian universe. He's a deliberate contrast. He's a test of Federation idealism. And in the grand scheme of things, he may be one of TNG's most socially subversive and morally ambiguous characters. This is the story of why Okona deserves a reappraisal and how Star Trek fans never truly understood one of TNG's most underrated criminals. A smuggler in a utopian paradise. At first glance, Okona seems ripped from a different franchise. He's introduced as a rakish, fast-talking freighter captain with a rogue's grin and an untraceable moral compass. Played by the effortlessly cool Billy Campbell, Okona is essentially TNG's answer to a space cowboy, a loner drifting through the stars with cargo in his hold, secrets in his past, and a twinkle in his eye. This alone made him an outlier. In the clean-cut, uniformed order of the Next Generation, Okona is a gust of chaos. He flirts shamelessly, lies without hesitation, and acts entirely on self-interest. Yet the moment he appears, the Enterprise crew becomes fascinated by him, especially Data, who views Okona as a window into what it means to be human. In a ship where logic and diplomacy dominate, Okona represents spontaneity and emotional messiness. He's not just alien, he's culturally alien. But what truly sets Okona apart is his criminal ambiguity. Throughout the episode, he's accused of two separate crimes by rival factions, impregnating a noblewoman and stealing a valuable jewel. Both are serious offenses. Both, we learn, are grounded in a complex web of love, duty, and political pretense. Okona is caught in the middle of a feud he didn't create but didn't entirely avoid either. He smuggles, he cons, he bends the truth. Yet in the end, it's revealed that Okona wasn't truly guilty of either crime, at least not in the black and white terms the Federation prefers. He didn't steal. He didn't seduce. He facilitated. He nudged. He played the game between the rules. And that's what makes him dangerous, not as a villain, but as a counterpoint to everything the Federation claims to stand for. The anti-Federation ideal. To understand Okona's role as an underrated criminal, it's crucial to understand what the Federation believes in. The United Federation of Planets is a utopia. It preaches cooperation, diplomacy, and an evolved sense of morality. Theft, manipulation, and exploitation are supposed to be relics of humanity's dark past. The Federation treats such behavior as abnormal, even impossible within its ranks. Then comes Okona, an unaligned, morally fluid outsider who slips past Starfleet security without a weapon, wins over the crew with his charm, and proves that justice isn't always clear-cut. Okona isn't a villain because he opposes the Federation. He's a villain because he complicates it. He shows that even in a future where hunger and poverty have been eradicated, people like him still exist. People who operate in the shadows, between power structures, living by their own code. That fact undermines the Federation's self-image. The brilliance of Okona is that he's not evil, just inconvenient. And in a world obsessed with order and logic, that may be the most threatening quality of all. Okona's real crime, breaking the narrative. The outrageous Okona is often dismissed as a filler episode. Critics point to its uneven tone, underdeveloped subplots, and lack of high-stakes drama. But there's a hidden genius to its construction. Okona's arrival disrupts not only the ship but the structure of the show itself. At one point, Data engages in a subplot about understanding humor, working with a holodeck comedian to learn the mechanics of comedy. Many viewers saw this as pointless. But in reality, it mirrors the larger theme of Okona's presence, exploring how rigid systems struggle to process human unpredictability. Data can't grasp jokes. Starfleet can't grasp Okona. They both try to rationalize things that defy neat categorization. This makes Okona more than just a one-episode wonder. He's a meta-commentary. He breaks the fourth wall of TNG's moral formula. He doesn't represent evil or chaos, but moral relativity, a reminder that not all dilemmas can be resolved through phasers or Picard speeches. He's not a danger to the crew. He's a danger to the narrative. The criminal with a conscience. What makes Okona truly fascinating is his motivation. Unlike other TNG antagonists who seek power or vengeance, Okona's crimes are rooted in emotional entanglements. He agrees to deliver a jewel as part of a secret engagement. He lies to protect two young lovers from their feuding families. His actions are criminal, yes, but they're also deeply human. In another life, Okona might have worn a Starfleet uniform himself. He's clever, diplomatic, even honorable in his own crooked way. But he chose freedom over structure, instinct over protocol. That choice alienates him from the crew. They admire him, but they don't understand him. Not really. Okona represents a kind of moral smuggler transporting ideas the Federation would rather not acknowledge. That life isn't always fair, that justice isn't always served, and that truth is sometimes bent in the name of love. And that makes him not just a criminal, but a critic. A character ahead of his time. When TNG aired in the late 1980s, the landscape of sci-fi was shifting. Anti-heroes and gray morality were starting to emerge, but Star Trek still clung to its hopeful optimism. Okona was a shot across the bow, a hint of the morally complex characters that would later dominate shows like Deep Space Nine and Picard. Today, a character like Okona would fit right in. In fact, he did return briefly in Star Trek, Lower Decks, older, grayer, and still charming. This cameo confirmed what some fans always suspected, that Okona survived, thrived, and remained unapologetically himself. He never conformed. He never capitulated. He aged into the same outlaw spirit the Federation never quite managed to tame. But even in this return, the show played him for laughs, a washed-up legend, a relic of a bygone era. Still, Okona's legacy lingers. Not in how often he's remembered, but in the questions he left behind. Why we never understood Okona. In the end, Star Trek fans never truly understood Okona because they weren't supposed to. He wasn't written to be liked or trusted. He was written to challenge the assumptions we make about heroism, morality, and justice in the Trek universe. He was the outsider who told the Federation, "You're not as perfect as you think." And that's a message fans were never quite ready to hear. Okona didn't have a tragic backstory or a redemption arc. He didn't get assimilated by the Borg or face off against Picard in a courtroom. He was just a guy, a messy, charismatic, semi-criminal guy who reminded us that humanity's evolution isn't a straight line. He was real. And that's what made him criminal in the eyes of a future that prefers ideals over truth. Conclusion: the outrageous truth. Star Trek has always been a mirror, reflecting the best and worst of humanity through its fantastical lens. Characters like Okona don't break that mirror, they polish it. They show us the cracks we'd rather ignore. Beneath the swagger and sarcasm, Okona represents the part of us that resists conformity, that values freedom over perfection, and that,